our discussion. I'll read out the question. We added a second question, and I'm going to say something. I'm going to share with you what Vidvan Gurunga wrote. And I must say, he is a scholar. And Garuda Prabhu, if you don't know who he is, he and I together conducted a seminar in our farm community in Pennsylvania. Anyway, so he's a Sanskrit PhD scholar. He's a wonderful Vaishnav too. So he supplied an answer, which I'll read to all of you, which he said I said he could be anonymous, or we can read it aloud, and he said, I'll stand by, you can use my name. So that's part two. A nice question. And we said when we touched on it, this requires further discussion, so that's part two. And then part three is there are 8 written questions, and he's already selected 3 when we already assigned one of the 3. And the Nrsinga Maharaj, you're going to have to look at this and decide which of the other 3, which additional 3 you'd like to answer. Then I'll take the 2 that remain, 3 plus 3 plus 2. And we're probably going to run out of time. That's the 3 parts. If there is time, anybody can raise their hand and have a question, but we probably won't have time. So breakout session, this fundamental question about Krishna Prema or Krishna Bhakti and Ram Bhakti and Rama Prema, and how does it work? Then these other already submitted questions. They're good questions, they're nice questions, thoughtful, and not too long also. Okay. You need a microphone? Look at this, he's got a microphone.
Hare Krishna Vaishnavas. So when we massage these messages through discussions with each other, it tends to go deeper and helps in our integration. So that is the purpose of a breakout session, where we get into smaller groups. 5 to 7 is what I'm going to recommend. And then we really dive into the questions that Maharaj has provided us. We're going to have an option of 2 themes. So these are the 2 slides that Maharaj had presented earlier during the Yatra. The first one is on speaking the truth. That's the theme of this set of questions. And the other set of questions is on taking initiative. So I'm going to read out these questions, but everybody does have them in the Yatra group, and I'm wondering if somebody would be willing to forward them again now into the Yatra group, those 2 slides. So here's the first option. It's on taking initiative. Maharaj asked us to reflect upon what prompts you to take up or not take up initiative. So remember how Hanuman took up initiative, went way beyond the call of duty. So we're going to self-reflect and then discuss with each other what prompts us to take initiative or not take initiative. And the other set of questions is on speaking the truth. So you would have the option to perhaps discuss this one. This one's a little bit lengthier, and again, you'll have it in your WhatsApp group, the Yatra group. In the course of life, we often find ourselves at the boundary that separates truth from untruth. Please reflect on a few situations from your life where you have found yourself at this boundary. What considerations did you make in resolving this conundrum? Would you use the same considerations today after hearing Ramayan's lessons on truth? And finally, what could be some areas of improvement that you may have identified for yourself? So that's the other option. One is on speaking the truth, one is on taking initiative. So here's what we're going to do. Those who prefer to discuss on speaking the truth, you're going to come towards my left side, okay? And then you're going to self-divide yourself into groups of 5 to 7, no more, just because 15 minutes is all we have, so everybody should have at least 3 minutes per person, okay? And then those who are on the wanting to discuss the other theme, which is taking initiative, please come towards this side of the room, okay? And then self-divide into groups of 5 or 7. And then, once you have done that, we will have 15 minutes. But I will let you know every 5 minutes, okay? So, Vaishnavas, if you would please rise. And if you're willing to come to this side, if you want to discuss the initiative topic. And this side, if you're willing to discuss the truth topic. And if you're already in the right place, good for you.
You pick 3 that you want.
Okay, so now find 5 or 7 other devotees you want to work with. Always nice to find new people you haven't talked to yet in the yatra. But if you're more comfortable being vulnerable with people you already know, that is fine. So make a circle and sit with 5 or 7 people. If you do not have a group, please raise your hand and I'll help you find people to talk to. Anybody not have a group?
Here's one over here.
Okay.
There's one over there by the...
It's truth.
Anybody need help finding a partner or finding a group? Okay, so Vaishnavas, your time starts now. You have 15 minutes. Please make sure everybody has a voice.
Shri Radhika, he's still wandering around.
Haribol, 1/3 of the time has passed. So 5 minutes have passed. Please make sure everybody is heard.
If someone can speak 5 sentences, because that's going to be, that's a rule, then raise your hand. 2 and 2. give the list did you select the ones? Can you mark them? And then I'll give the list to Nixon and Trump.
Haribol, 2/3 of the time has passed. You have 5 minutes remaining. Let's hear all the voices in our groups. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Can I have your attention, Vaishnavas? Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All right.
The demigods of the electricity are cooperating. Vaishnavas, if I can just have you turn this way, don't get up, just turn your face this way. A little bit of harvesting, yeah? So harvesting is where let's, as a group, come together to share what was discussed. From the, is this the initiative section? This is the truth or the lies. Would two people, well, let's start with one first. Would one person be willing to share perhaps what was discussed in your group, what really resonated, any highlight? And you have 5 sentences to do so. You can, that's Maharaj's directive. So, who's willing to share? Nilima Mataji.
So we have discussed that, this is regarding truthfulness. We have discussed that there are times when we don't want to be truthful, when we want to be accepted by the other person, and we want to have some mental peace. We don't want to be judged. And then we, after Ramayana, what do we think now? So we want to be more authentic. We don't want to lie when it is for protecting our ego or when we are trying to deceive. But if we have to be kind on the other person, like in case of children, or protect dharma. So in those cases, we still want to be, we don't want to tell truth. What is the application? So going forward from now onwards, Mataji was sharing, so we don't want to be afraid of the consequences or fearful that we'll not be accepted, and be bold in speaking truth, and take shelter of Krishna in accepting the consequences in being authentic. So that's what we discussed, Mataji.
Thank you.
Very good.
We're going to move to the other group, initiative or not taking initiative. Wonderful. We have a lot of hands, but we're going to go with the young ones. So you have 5 sentences.
Okay, now 5 seconds, right?
No, 5 sentences.
Okay.
You know why, too.
From the initiative side, there is one question which we all came up with, which is, how many of us here like failure? And failure is the thing that is, for most of the people in our group, stopping us from taking initiative in any type of service. And the reason failure is such a big component here is because we're too scared of what might happen if the service does not go the way we intend it to. But keeping higher authorities in mind and in our hearts before engaging in the service, specifically Guru and Krishna, will help us to move forward in whatever endeavor it might be, and it will ultimately give us the satisfaction that we were able to serve Krishna and the mission, regardless of what the result is. So that is the essence of taking initiative in our service. Hopefully that was 5 sentences.
Good, good, well done.
Okay, so hopefully that helped you massage some of Maharaj's messages and have something to take back with you in your wheelbarrow. So we're going to conclude this part of our evening. So let's take a minute to come back to our seats and whatever you need to do to be comfortable for the next part, which is questions and answers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Krishna, Krishna. So while you're shuffling around, I'm going to read and be as attentive as you can to the topic, the question that's going to take up the next 20 minutes. There's 2 parts. Where's Vraja? Where'd she go? She was sitting over here. Oh, you're back there. Okay. So Vraja asked a question. This is in the disciple-guru relationship. What happens when disciple X becomes very devoted to Ramachandra, disciple Y, for the same guru, becomes very devoted to Krishna? What happens to relationship later? Or the guru is a Krishna Bhakta and the disciple is a Ram Bhakta. What happens to that relationship after? I'll read the language. And then the second question was fudged a little bit, but in the whole of our discussion of bhakti rasa, how does it work when there's bhakti this way and bhakti that way? Because, and then you'll hear the becauses. It seems like it could be confusing or contradictory or a problem. 2 parts. So how does it work is the second part, and the others, how do the relationships going forward in time? So what I did, I had some thoughts, and then in addition to some thoughts that I had, I contacted 2 devotees. One was Vidvan Gauranga, and the other was Garuda Prabhu, a Sanskrit gentleman, whiz kid, scholar. And what Garuda Prabhu wrote in response, you'll all receive a copy of it, and then the translators can translate it. But the essence of what he wrote back was very, very closely resonated with my contemplations on the subject. And he gave 2 scriptural references and then stated something that he's deeply invested in his writing. The 2 references were Canto 5, Chapter 9, Text 19. Right in the verse, not Prabhupada's purport, it said Ramchandra took everybody to the spiritual world. Parentheses, Vaikuntha. The followers of Ramchandra go to Ayodhya, which is in the region, the realm of Vaikuntha. That was the first reference. The second reference is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Adi Leela, chapter 17, where there's a description of the Sadbhuja form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sad means 6, Bhuja means arms, the 6-armed form that he showed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. The context was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for 7 days was instructing this young 24-year-old sannyasi in Vedanta Sutra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said nothing for 7 days. On the 8th morning, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, I don't understand, or I can't assess if you've understood what I said or not, because you don't say anything. And Mahaprabhu replied, I understand Chaitanya, I understand Vedanta Sutra very well, but your words are covering the meaning for 7 days. Oh? Then if you understand Vedanta Sutra, then you please explain it to me. So he did. At the request of the elder scholar, he explained. And the explanation was so simple and so sweet and so profound that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, wow. He didn't say well. Wow. I never heard anything so wonderful as this. You're not just a young sannyasi. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and then showed him his 6-armed form. 6 arms means, it's in the reference. Krishna, that's 2 arms, holding his flute. Ramachandra, bow, arrows, Ramachandra. And sannyasi, danda, and kamandala, water pot. 6-arm form. And he fainted. And that was the other scripture reference that Garuda sent. The followers of Ramachandra, he takes to Vaikuntha, he takes to Ayodhya in the spiritual sky. And then the second reference was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all 3 in one. He's what to speak of 3, he's everything. But these 3 prominent forms of the Lord in one. And then he wrote what is his own writing, which you'll get a copy. It's not the object of bhakti on which we should focus, like Krishna or Ram, with one another in Sangha, like who you're devoted to. Let's sit over here. And those other guys or ladies can sit over there. But the pure devotional energy, this is his language, or bhakti, of the heart filled with prema. That's the essence. The object of bhakti is prema. Not this one versus that one. We should steer away from the tendency to reduce the divine world to a mere abstraction or a mental concoction. Like you change your dress. You know, your dress is whatever your dress is. And then you go to the spiritual world, you got a new dress. As if it's a material thing, if it's like a physical thing, or in his language, mental concoction. It's a state of consciousness, it's prema. And you know, Prabhupada's words, this is his writing, but Prabhupada's words, wherever hearing and chanting is going on a regular basis, that's the spiritual world. I heard it from Prabhupada's mouth 3 times, and then I heard he said the same thing in London and Los Angeles. The temple's not in Los Angeles, the temple's not in London. It's in Vaikuntha. But Vaikuntha means the spiritual world. Why? Because of the activities, the consciousness, the activities connecting with the consciousness of bhakti. Whatever is our highest and dearest love, that will easily be accommodated by the spiritual world, the sad Bhuja Prakash, the manifestation of that 6-armed form, proves that all can be accommodated by Chaitanya, precisely because he himself is the embodiment of Mahabhava, the highest and supreme form of prema. No, you have to be a connoisseur of language to understand what is he meaning to say here. What he's saying is what he's saying, but in simple terms, very simple terms, it's not like it's just a decoration. It's okay. It's not like somewhere in South India someone's a Ram Bhakta and somewhere in North India someone's a Krishna Bhakta, and they go to one place or the other place. We, by mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And within Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was everything. Here's for example. Krishna. For example, I don't know where it went. For example, those who are, I know where it went. I didn't send it to Guru Das to print. There's a book by Kavi Karnapur called Gora Gondadesh Dipika. Gora Gondadesh Dipika is who's who in Gora Lila, who are they in Krishna Lila. But it's not only in Krishna Lila, because there's many in Gora Lila that are eternal associates of Ramachandra. Hanuman being one, Murari Gupta. And the whole list, Kaushalya and Dasarath, they manifest within the body of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi. And Dasarath and Sumitra manifest in the form of the mother and father of Lakshmi Priya, the wife of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Jambavan, and the list goes on of who in Gaura Lila, who are they in Ram Lila. As with Krishna, so also with Ram, depending upon the bhava or the mood of ecstasy. So there's room for everybody in Gaura Lila, in other words. And it's reconciled. And in the ultimate issue, the desires of someone that achieves the stage of prema, small thing, right? Just achieves the stage of prema. It's right around the corner, just. But one who achieves the stage of prema, the essence is prema bhakti. And then the object is specific. There was some question, I'll read the second question. In general, how does Ram Bhakti fit in Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya Parampara? Especially when our Prayojana Acharya Raghunath Das refused to drink even buttermilk in leaf cups made from leaves found in Chandravali's forest. Do you know the story? Some of you may not know the story. Raghunath Das Goswami, he ate next to nothing. So his followers or assistants or those that brought him buttermilk every other day, they liked bringing it in a leaf cup that had really big leaves. And so they brought him buttermilk with big leaves, and he started drinking the buttermilk and asked, "Where'd you get these big leaves?" And they said, "Oh, we found there's a certain tree that grows in Chandravali's forest, and we took some of those leaves," and he threw it away. "Don't bring this ever again." They didn't do it again because Chandravali is the rival of Radharani. And his bhakti was transcendental bhakti. And there's a place for him and followers of him. And there are followers of him. And there's a place for them in the pantheon of followers of Lord Chaitanya. On the other hand, Marigupta remained a steadfast devotee of Ramachandra, or the brother of Rupa and Sanatan, Anupam. He was a great devotee of Ramachandra. So there's great devotees of Ramachandra, and there's Raghunath Das Goswami, and there's different moods of bhakti. And they all fit under the umbrella of Gaura Bhakti. No problem. I mean, don't mess with Raghunath Das Goswami. Or you're going to get a tongue lashing, at least. Don't say anything, do anything that's contrary to that bhakti. That's his fastidious devotion. So without getting this lengthy reply, which you'll get a copy of from Garuda Prabhu, the issue is this a non-issue for those who are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the conflict, potential apparent conflict of bhakti. And then in the end, whatever is compatible for the bhakti of the prema bhakta, there's a place for them. There's a place for all of us. Just a small thing, just attain the stage of prema bhakti, please.
What if it find the wrong stage?
I'll read it. It's those of you that are not scholarly, you'll fall asleep. Those of you that are scholarly with 4 footnotes, you'll go, wow, this man's a scholar. But he said, I'll just read the first few things. Since Lord Rama is also an object of spontaneous devotional service, footnote, he gives where that reference is from. It is to be understood that an associate of his will take charge of the devotee who has been gifted with such spontaneous devotion to Ramachandra, just as in the case with spontaneous devotional service to Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So the Rupa Goswami describes Ragatmika Bhakti is taking shelter of a perfected soul, of a certain mood or bhava of ecstasy in the stage of perfection. Take shelter of them. And that moves from sadhana to raga sadhana, from vidhi to raga sadhana bhakti, or raga bhakti, or raganuga sadhana bhakti, all meaning the same thing. So he's paralleling that this is what happens for Ram Bhakta also. Someone that is ISKCON devotee, that becomes fixed in Ram Bhakti, that's what happens. In either case, Lord Krishna, in either his original form or the form of the object of the devotee's spontaneous devotion, will do the needful to bring that devotee to his lotus feet in his abode. This is drawn from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary to Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Mamupiyantate, and he gives the reference. That's paragraph number 1. 2. Since Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, listen, the mantras that reveal him will naturally also reveal his plenary portions, such as Ramachandra. There is no need for receiving separate Ram mantras to attain Ramaloka. For example, in Gaura Lila, we find that devotees of Narayana, like Srivas, Nrsinga, like Nrsingananda, Ramachandra, like Murari Gupta, but all of them chanted the same Hare Krishna mantra that Lord Chaitanya chanted. No problem. Chant Hare Krishna. For example, in the Juhu temple, Prabhupada is reported to have said that devotees should just chant and sing Hare Krishna mantra to glorify the deities who are being installed. No special mantras, Hare Krishna mantra, for installation of Sitaram. No problem. If someone sees a problem, they got a problem. And then comes a really complicated one regarding Rama Bhakta wanting to focus on Rama alone, or Krishna Bhakta wanting to focus on Krishna alone, or a Narayana Bhakta wanting to focus on Narayana alone. He refers to Baladev Vidyabhusan, and it's very complicated. 3 stages of devotees that become perfect in stages. And after saying what those 3 stages are, he spells them out. There are the first stage, devotees have no desire for sense gratification unless it's in alignment with attaining perfection. There's some that, anyway, he gives a delineation of these 3 stages of becoming pure devotees. And one can progress from stage 1 to 2 to 3. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also discusses these. He gives a footnote. Very scholarly. And while they're in category number 1, like the preliminary, they should remember that they are not deemed pure enough to choose the particular form of the Lord they would like to serve later on. Later on means after this life. No, their destination after this life. Because that was kind of one of the questions. How does it work? You have to have some qualification. They should, at this stage, give equal importance to all the Vishnu Tattva forms of the Lord. Then, conclusion. Sri Valmiki Ramayana is a part of the Rama Lila, meaning 24,000 out of 1 billion is a part. And it describes Ram Lila, but for a specific purpose, colon. It is the eternal wish of Maryada Purushottama, that's Ramachandra, to attract conditioned souls to step out into the boundaries of Vedic Dharma and never step outside them and surrender to the personality of God. Then the final paragraph is these 2 things, glories and surrender. So surrender, like this nice presentation on Vibhishan surrender. And it's not just Vibhishan, it's a principle, and it's very important. Segment. And the steps and everything. He didn't go directly to Ramachandra. He went to Sugriva. And Sugriva was going, I don't trust him. Then someone said, yeah, but, so. And Hanuman was silent. Anyway, so the procedure of how Vibhishan surrendered, and Ramachandra accepted him. I think fortunately the microphone still works. So I did a little research on the deity of Ranganath. Those of you from India, you know about the deity of Ranganath. Those of you that are from China, you may not know about the deity of Ranganath. If in case you don't know, there's a humongous deity who's reclining on an Anantashesh, and he was taken there by Vibhishan. And he's facing in a southerly direction. It's in the event, there's a whole series of how the deity came into the Ikshvaku dynasty from Lord Brahma. It's a whole description. I'll share the document because I spent some time researching and got some other people helping to research. When the coronation of Ramchandra took place, he gave gifts to different persons. And one of the gifts that he gave to Vibhishan on his way back to Sri Lanka to become the king, because he was already installed as the king, here's the deity that I and our family line have been worshiping for many, many generations here. And it's a gigantic deity. How big is the deity? Who knows? How many feet? How many? 10? 10 feet. 10 feet. Think of it, and he's reclining. So he was carrying, and Vibhishan wanted to stop and take his sacred bath in the Kaveri River. He came back, and the deity said, sorry, I don't want to go any further. But how can he go against the will of the Lord? So the Lord said, I'll face in your direction, which it's a no-no. I mean, by Vastu, by Vedic rule, deities don't face south. This deity faces south. So he'll always behold Vibhishan. So, the Lord takes care of his devotees, don't worry. The main is come to Prema Bhakti. That's the main issue. And that's a little summary of my thoughts and two other persons' thoughts. And Maharaj, would you like to add something? Well, you have your thoughts, and we're all individual. I like diversity. You're declining.
Well,
Yeah, the whole, what Vidvangaranga wrote, what Garuda wrote, with this little document about the history of the Ranganath deity, you all get a copy. And then your translators will have some more service.
Yeah, I would just like to say that certainly in our Krishna conscious society we have a very broad understanding about these things, and we have worship of Lord Nrsingadev going on.
Yeah.
We have, of course, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman are established in several temples around the world. And
No conflict.
Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra are there, Gaurnitai are there. We don't have any difficulty with it. Certainly, there's room for variety in our Krishna consciousness movement. Right? Different devotees will have the particular deity which is an inspiration to them, which they like to worship, and there's no harm in that. Whether or not, what will be their situation in the spiritual world.
That was the question.
That's up to Krishna, right?
He'll accommodate.
But the idea is to be engaged in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
And we're encouraged to worship all. Certainly we take part in all the festivals, and Lord Chaitanya also celebrated the different festivals throughout the year. He would reenact the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra sometimes, just as he would perform Krishna Janmashtami. So I don't see any difficulty or any conflict in it. Certainly we shouldn't be worried, oh, what would be my destiny? Will I be separate from my spiritual master? I think also within our Krishna conscious society, we have many gurus, right? Chaitanya Charitamrita begins, Bande Gurun. We offer obeisances to all the spiritual teachers. So we have Diksha Guru, we have also Shiksha Gurus. And the Shiksha Guru plays more importance. And so someone's become attached to Lord Ramachandra. There's nothing wrong in that. You like to worship Lord Rama? I don't think it's a problem. And Prabhupada agreed to have the deities installed. In Bombay, that was the first set of Rama, Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman deities, first of all in Juhu temple. And Prabhupada knew the mood of the people in Bombay, that they would like to have Sita Ram there. Similarly in Delhi, that was after Prabhupada had departed. But Delhi is a Ram Bhakta town, right? A lot of devotees of Lord Ram there. It's very popular. So we have no problem with it. And when we chant Hare Krishna, there was the argument, who is Rama? Is it Balaram or is it Lord Rama? And Prabhupada told the devotees, it's both. You're both right. And then afterwards, Gaur Govinda comes along and tells us that Jiva Goswami said that Rama means also Krishna. And so, you have a lot of variety here in Krishna consciousness. It's very flexible, So there's no problem with these things. The main thing is just to hear and chant more and nourish the creeper of devotion.
Okay, one we haven't heard yet is Nityananda Pran, and I know one of the questions he's supposed to answer. Do you know the other two? Does he know the other two? Okay, you're on. I need the sheet. I can read the.
Oh.
Those who were very kind and generous to write short answers or short questions. One of those short questions was from Demvyambar. She heard her name, she just jumped. No, this is Rukmini Priya, sorry. What's the significance of 14? Why was 14 the number of years for Lord Ramachandra's exile? 14 years, why?
I think the reference is in Manu Samhita. I don't have the specific reference here. That 14 years of exile or banishment is considered or was considered the amount of time after which the person who's banished forfeits their claim on any property.
Yeah.
Second, Kaikeyi's apparently internal consideration was that 14 years is long enough for the Ayodhya Vasis to love Bharata and they may forget Rama. Neither of that worked, but that was her considerations.
That was easy, right?
Yes.
Waiting for the next one. You're next, because Nrsimha Maharaj will come after you. Prem Kishore.
There are three parts, so I'll just do one and then I'll pass on the mic to Maharaja. Question. The primacy of intention, sankalpa. Success in spiritual life is not first about action, but about the purity and clarity of one's intention. The entire mission is launched by Hanuman's single-pointed sankalpa to serve Rama. My spiritual practices are often driven by habit, duty, or a desire for personal peace, not by a burning sankalpa to attain pure love of God or please the spiritual master. What is my true intention when I sit down to chant, read, or serve? Is it to check a box or to genuinely please Krishna? How can I cultivate a more intense and pure intention today? for questions of this nature, I've heard Maharaj again and again say, just assume there's a mix. There's a mix of maybe genuine intention and a mix of not. But whether or not, I don't know, at least at this point, when I read this question, it is very difficult for someone else to tell me what my intention is. That is for me to check, refine, and reorient. What the others, meaning persons outside of me, particularly the spiritual master and parampara, is to constantly remind me of the pure intention. And as a sadhaka, I connect with that and I voluntarily, willingly, and intentionally try and align with that indication or instruction. And because the word is practice or sadhana, by definition, practice includes errors and faults, because if it did not, it would be called perfection. And so practice is the voluntary act of daily or continuously recalibrating and reorienting ourselves every day or ever so ever when we are aware to recalibrate. And that is when we begin any activity. Maharaj had mentioned in some conversation many years ago that we check in with Krishna, or we reorient and connect with Krishna before we begin a service, in the middle of it, so we know we are still in the right direction, and after the service is completed, that we voluntarily and intentionally offer that service for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And that's the practice.
You done? It's
Yes,
a long list.
Oh, there's more, but I thought Maharaj wants.
Oh, we've been speaking. You speak. Okay. One more. This is Prem Kishore's long list, but each part is short.
Second, both Hanuman and Sita contemplate suicide in despair. Learned acharyas explain this is not as material shoka, but as a transcendental vyabhichari bhava that intensifies the primary sthayi bhava of love. How does one distinguish on a platform of personal experience between the shoka, that is an ecstatic symptom of prema, and or material depression, which is a product of ahankara and maya? I think a short answer for that would be to check who's at the center of that consideration. Whenever oneself is at the center of things, then it's the latter as a product of maya. And when the center of one's attention, prayer, seva is the Supreme Lord and his associates, then it's the other one, the transcendental one. And connecting to the previous answer, I'm reminded of a situation when once Srila Prabhupada spontaneously invited His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj to say something on stage. And Prabhupada was seated, and Giriraj Maharaj, as a young brahmachari, said something to the effect that sometimes we fall into maya. And Prabhupada, I believe, interrupted him and he says, sometimes you're always in maya. Sometimes you're Krishna conscious, something like that. So back to the previous and this, as I'm reading it, I sense that they are similar. That it is us to evaluate who's at the center of it. And it's an exercise in one's own honesty, because end of the day, I know for myself how close or far I am from the ideal that I would like to get to, and then that's the reorientation. I'll end with this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I can't remember which book, but says that at the end of every day, a sadhaka should take stock of how the day was executed, what some areas that went well and would not, and then make a strong, determined commitment to improve the next day. Shall I do the third one also?
Very good. Here's the microphone back. Give him some service. Whatever one he wants. He's a grown man. He can select what he wants.
I can do better.
Okay.
I can do anyone. Huh? Okay.
As a New Age Swami, phone works better than a printed paper.
So this is by Sundarananda Das. Hearing Ramayan in this yatra will, with Acharya commentaries and lessons, is inspiring. When is the recommended period or order in studying Ramayana for a practicing devotee? Is it after studying all Srila Prabhupada's books, including Srimad Bhagavatam, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, at least once in my capacity. Does Ramayana study come last after some acharya? Well, the idea is, what level are you studying Ramayana at? You see, just like we teach Bhagavad Gita, and we say Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Shastri. But you can study Bhagavad Gita also at Bhakti Vaibhav, and you can study Bhagavad Gita at Bhakti Vedanta. At different levels you can understand. So similarly with Ramayana, you can study it at the beginner's level, you can study it at the intermediate level, and you can study it at the advanced level. It's up to the devotee. Our business is hearing and chanting. And so certainly there's no harm in hearing the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. And so Srila Prabhupada, certainly they celebrated Ram Navami in Srila Prabhupada's time. And Sasparupa Maharaj also wrote a summary of the Ramayana. It was included in the Back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada was not against these things, and certainly he expected us to know the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. So the idea is, what level are you going to study it at? You have to consider what level are you at. Well, first of all, study. Usually we say Bhagavad Gita is the basics, but Bhagavad Gita can also be studied at a very advanced level. So similarly, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra can also be understood on a higher level. It's up to every individual. What level are you at? How much you're able to dedicate yourself to this studying.
Nice answer. Okay, I'm next. And then you're next. You know what the questions you're going to answer? I'll after I read the question, then I'll give you the paper. Adipurusha, you're out there? There he is. Okay. When Sita said to Hanuman, single-handedly you can rescue me, but it would not add to Ram's glory. You should act in such a manner to increase his glories in accordance with his stature, unquote. What does in accordance with his stature mean in the context of Guru, Acharyas, and other Vaishnavas? So according to his stature can mean different things. That's one of the glories of poetry. And it can mean, commensurate with his stature, can mean according to your realization. Like, let's just say respect, 4 levels of respect. But everyone is to be respected. And the topmost respect, and then the next and next, commensurate to their stature. And commensurate with the stature of Ramachandra, that's Hanuman anyways, but his stature is the supreme lovable object for you and for me. So commensurate with, or in according to his stature. Or, you say it in some other language, Maryada Purushottama. Maryada Purushottama means he is the form of the Lord that perfectly observes Dharma. So commensurate with one who perfectly observes Dharma, because he's the Supreme Person. So commensurate with that stature. Honor him and act in such a way that he'll be honored. It's a nice teaching that applies to all of us. That is to say, once we make contact with Krishna Bhakti, we then become responsible to others in the Sangha of Vaishnavas. In other words, we're all, when we leave here, we're all going to go back to where we came from, most likely. Some may go visit family members somewhere in India or something like that. But as we're moving about, I think of this all the time. As I'm moving about, I'm setting an example. If I speak nicely or not, if I behave nicely or not, if I dress nicely or not, if I conduct myself in accordance with principles that speak well of a follower of Lord Chaitanya or a Hare Krishna devotee, people will judge all of you based upon the good or bad that I do. They don't know you, but you're being judged based upon my speech and behavior and character. So we're in accordance with someone's stature, because the founder Acharya is such a person. If we act in a way doesn't represent him well, that's not good. And it can happen because we're less than perfect beings, but we should strive for that according to his stature, according to the stature of our founder Acharya and our previous spiritual masters in disciplic succession and so forth. We should act, because it's the highest thing, we should strive to act accordingly. And that way impact the hearts and the minds of others. Okay, you're on. Microphone. I don't have. Put on your phone.
This is the third question by Prema Kishore Prabhu. Hanuman repeatedly fights from atop an archway, symbolizing the quote-unquote platform of humility provided by the Guru. On a deeper level, could this archway represent the Guru Parampara itself, the gateway or archway one must pass under to enter the spiritual realm? I'm not sure I fully understand. But the third one is Hanuman standing there indicative of fighting Maya, not by one's own strength, but from the secure position of the disciplic succession? Yes. And by platform of humility, by definition, is that one doesn't fight, if you will, or one doesn't execute bhakti on one's own strength, but on the strength of one's identity. Hanuman is not only standing on the archway, but he repeatedly, not softly, but roars, Dasoham Kosalendrasya Ramasya Aklishta Karmanaha. I am the servant of that Ramachandra who is invincible. So, the real strength for a devotee is, yes, platform of humility, but that humility means one's identity as the servant of the Supreme Lord. And when that identity is strong, vibrant, then the person has an inexplicable strength, not their own, a strength that moves, guides, and helps them overcome whatever the difficulty or move towards that position of security, the Lord's lotus feet. Would you like to add anything to that?
Well, that's a nice answer. It's a nice question. The paper, he needs the paper too. There you go.
Okay, I'm going to take the question by Divyambara Devidasi. Ravana wasn't willing to take instructions from Hanuman. Similarly, there is hesitancy, lack of submission to apply instructions from the heart. Please let me know the process or the practical steps I need to take to move forward.
Are you going to do it when he tells you? You're sure? Make sure it goes in.
I have some very practical advice for you. Just take shelter of somebody who is a very heavy person, who will pull you by the ear, and who will tell you you are a fool, you are nonsense, you know nothing, and just do what you're told.
Sounds like your mother.
We need somebody who can crush the ego, that false ego. So sometimes we have to be willing to accept that put ourselves into that position. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Take another one. That was quick.
was the other one I picked?
Oh, you had several.
Oh yeah, it was somewhere at the end. Right? Lord Krishna was truthful and carried by duty. I value being truthful and being dutiful. However, others are not truthful or dutiful. I get disturbed.
Uh-oh.
What to do? Well, I think example is very important. I think it's very nice that you have this feeling of duty and you're truthful. So that example in itself is very nice. Why you should get so disturbed by others? You have to learn to tolerate these kind of situations. Unless, of course, you're in a managerial position. If you happen to be in a position where you're overseeing others, then it's a different thing, of course. Then you have to point out to the people who are under you, there are certain things which they're not doing correctly. And, you know, being truthful and being punctual and these kind of things, this is certainly a responsibility for someone in a managerial position to make sure the people under him are keeping these kind of standards. But if you're not in the managerial position, then don't get hung up about other people. Just be satisfied to do things properly yourself. I think in our temples we often find sometimes like that, we get problems, you know, some new person comes along and he starts finding out faults with the senior devotees, you know, and the senior devotees don't like it because they say, who are you to tell me what to do? So you have to be a little careful, you know, you have to know your position and know your area of responsibility.
Nice.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Would you like to do some concluding announcements? I'll say it again. She's done a fantastic job. I challenge anyone. You try it. I see some people saying no. Go ahead.
Today's breakfast prasadam was sponsored by New York congregation, New Jersey.